All right, Alex Sarama, what a big year, what a big point in your life. First time WNBA head coach, getting married in September. Congrats on that. You're going to turn 31 soon enough. What opportunity is this here in Portland, Oregon for you?
Thank you, Nick. Great question. I mean, it's going to be an incredible year. It's a whirlwind of everything going on at once. But I feel like everything I am as a person, as a coach, I feel like I am a perfect fit for an expansion team. And just everything here in Portland, I mean, myself as a person, traditionally, if everyone wants to go right, I'm going left. And I just feel Portland is the place to be. And I just feel so comfortable here. I mean, it's been an amazing week seeing the excitement around the team, the fans, got to meet them obviously at the expansion draft, and just so ready to go. It's obviously been a long time waiting for this, and now it's a very condensed timeline. But I know I speak for myself and the whole team when I know we just can't wait to start now.
Why are you the right guy for the job of the WNBA and the first time that this team's been back in 20 plus years in Portland?
So I think I'll tackle this question with a few components. I think the first thing is, as an expansion team, you have to find ways to compete. And what I think we see a lot of in professional sports is we kind of come in and we copy kind of the same processes and ideas which have always been done that way. And I think that's great. You know, you can definitely win doing that. And that's what I did when I first started as a coach. But what if there's a better way, and a way you could accelerate the learning process for your players and get to point X much faster? And the way I'm viewing this and how I'm viewing this job is, if we're doing everything the same as every other team in the league, then I think we're actually doing it wrong. And I want us to be doing things differently. And it's not just a case of doing things differently, but doing it differently because it's more effective. And that's really going to be the whole essence around the Fire. I mean, and the culture we have as a staff, and what we're doing with the players. We want to be pushing the boundaries of development, learning in professional sports. And I want this to be the Silicon Valley of pro sports. And that's kind of what I've used in meetings with staff. And in terms of it covers everything from how can we have the best player health and be using the most evidence-based schemes to keep our players healthy. How could we use film instead of sitting in a theater for 40 minutes like every team? How can we make TikTok reels and talk using the players' language? And then, you know, when it comes to on the court, how can we practice in a way where players are developing at a 10x rate to everyone else in the league? And I think when you look at all these things, I think it makes it very exciting, because you couldn't do a lot of this if you were with a team that was not an expansion, because of the constraints of the organization, the staff who have been there. And Vanya and myself have literally been able to build this out, finding the best people across the world. You know, we've got people coming from as far afield as Australia. And it took us so long building out the staff just to get to this moment. And I think that's going to allow us to fulfill everything I've just spoken to.
You mentioned the reels, transforming basketball. You're also an author, and I'm a recreational league coach for 7th, 5th grade.
Oh, great. I didn't know that.
And I'm always saving reels on Instagram. And before you got hired, transforming basketball. It's Alex Sarama. And they come here live in the flesh, man. I mean, your approach, your philosophy is different from other people. What makes you stand out from others in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, firstly, I want to acknowledge this, that yes, we're doing things very differently, but also at the same time, I think it's important to have a lot of humility. I think that's the biggest thing with me personally, and how I got to this position. I feel like I've been the most obsessed there is when it comes to learning and development. Since I started coaching at 16, I've been so intentional learning from other coaches, watching clinics, reading papers. And that's kind of to work at the Fire. You have to be as interested in your own learning and development as I am. And I think that's what makes it so exciting just to be in the office every day, because of those rich conversations we're having. And it's, you know, it sounds too good to be true. And you'd imagine that would be the case in professional sports, but honestly, it's really not. And, you know, there's obviously amazing coaches at all levels, but to find everyone in one place where where they share this passion for learning, it's incredible. And then, you know, that's what's kind of led me down this path and exploring different ways to approach the game. And I think a lot of what we're seeing in the media, and obviously what I'm known for, is this idea of the constraints-led approach called CLA. And it really is a shift in how we go about approaching practice. It's not just limited to how we do a basketball practice, because you can use these ideas in everything from physio, the weight room, how we show film. But I think the easiest way to explain it, for the viewers is really it's about, instead of doing drills and things we always see in sports where coaches teach a technique or we teach a perfect pattern and then we expect it to transfer to the game, it's all about creating very representative environments where the coach isn't an instructor, but an architect. And we're designing very specific environments where the players are learning and picking up ways to move, finding their own techniques, as opposed to us top down as the coach telling them what to move and when to do it. And I think this is so exciting because we will be the first team in pro sports with this approach in everything. And obviously the Cavs, we were the first team to do it in practice, but we're taking it now a step beyond that with every department viewing the game through this lens.
Yes, you've been all around the world, and most recently, as of like a week ago, you're with the Cavaliers as player development coach, assistant coach, diagramming inbounds plays. I mean, doing all the cool stuff and getting that high level of play, the highest level of ball in the world. I know it's women's WNBA, it's different, but it's not. The game is still the game. How did that experience in the NBA set you up for here now?
Yeah, I think it set me up perfectly. And I think it's not just the experience I've had with the Cavs these past 2 seasons, but more, I think one of my strengths is how I've coached in so many different places, whether it's Spain, Belgium, Italy, France, all different levels. And I think that allows me to come into this with just more of a kind of unique perspective on how we're going about our daily thing, just because I've been exposed to a lot. And I think so specifically when it comes to the Cavs, being the first team to do it at that level was really exciting, because just, things in terms of how you get the buy-in from the players, how you get the buy-in from the staff, and then how you actually roll this out. And obviously I was very fortunate to get the chance to work with head coach Kenny Atkinson, and who was a huge believer in this. So I'm just really excited to carry it over to this and basically make it, I think the culture of how we practice and our practice identity is going to be something very unique about who we are and our identity as an organization. So it's going to be really exciting.
And if you're a real hoop head around here in the Rose City, you remember that Alex was an assistant coach for the Rip City Remix, the NBA G League team, when they first came to town 3 years ago now. You had a few months here. What was your experience in Portland that made that and played into the factor of, I've been there, I liked it there?
Yeah, I think it was seeing firstly how passionate people are about basketball in the city is really, really cool to see. I'd say now, in terms of a life perspective, I didn't have a chance to appreciate just how incredible Portland is as a city back then, because I was living right next to the Blazers facility out in Tualatin. I didn't have a car, so I was really just staying in that area. And it's, now like I'm obsessed with the Alberta, Mississippi areas, like that whole Northeast, and just even things like all the coffee here, the great food. I mean, it's just some of the neighborhoods are so like diverse. It really fits what I value as a person. So I know myself and my fiance, we're really going to enjoy living here.
Yeah, there's more than just chain restaurants and strip malls.
It's funny because I'd say as a European, it doesn't feel like I'm in the US, which I love.
Yeah, and obviously the connection too with the GM, Vanya Cernovic, you work together, some global opportunities with the NBA, and just the connection you have, because she's also an outside of the box thinker, and then now you're the power tandem in town.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate to be able to work with Vanya on this. I think to your point of just thinking outside of the box, I think it's so rare that you have this sense of alignment with a general manager and a head coach. And that was one of the many reasons I took this job. Just, from how we envision practices looking to what we're doing in the player health department, we're just completely aligned in all these areas. And I think that's what makes this even more exciting.
Yeah, and Vanya Cernovic, she had injuries as well late in her career. She was a CLA believer early, right?
Yeah, it was really interesting just how Vanya kind of came across all of this was through her journey with rehab. And what she was doing from working out, things in the weight room. And essentially it was movement variability as opposed to doing all these corrective exercises, which we see a lot of in the medical space. Instead, it's all about exploration and moving tons of different ways and actually, doing movements which look very different to what we would typically see in the weight room in a pro sports setting. So I think that was what was so interesting, because Vanya came at it through that angle. I was coming at it from the basketball angle. And then obviously we met in the middle and we realized, wow, the CLA approach extends to a lot of different areas of an organization.
So we're actually talking about players on the roster, 11 in the expansion draft, and now free agency wide open. We finally got a date that can happen. We can sign players on Saturday, WNBA draft on Monday. How involved are you in all the player acquisition, and that you've got to beef up knowledge on everybody in the league that's available?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is I've had, I think, 7 months now to be preparing for this. So it's, we feel more than ready for this situation. And then, it's every kind of conversation we're having is integrated with myself, with front office, which is great, because then we've been very intentional about what do we want it to look like to approach offense and defense here with the Fire. What are we call it principles of play. So what is our identity? And then how can we go about finding players that really fit this mold? And that's why the expansion draft couldn't have gone better for us, because, if you look at the players we were fortunate to pick up, they just really fit the mold of how we're going to approach offense and defense in this modern style, analytically informed, playing with pace, shooting a lot of threes, being disruptive defensively. So I think our front office just did an incredible job approaching that. And we're going to kind of see as this week pans out through free agency and then the college draft, I think it will be exciting for fans to see who we pick up and how they fit with the core players we've obviously drafted in the expansion.
Pretty good core to have Bridget Carleton right off the top, a player that's obviously a national team with Canada, 7 years in the league already. She's still younger than you. Very young guy, but she's still younger than you. But to have her head it, and she is a known name, known commodity, you know what you're going to get with a player like that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to work with Bridget. I think when you talk about how we're going to play, let's start maybe with the offense. I mean, the three-point shooting is incredible. And there's one really interesting stat, which I think will pop for the listeners. So Bridget is in the 90th percentile of points per shot. So what that means is she's better than 90% of the league in terms of her efficiency, but she's in the bottom 5 in terms of her usage. So her touches, how she's used. So I think that really reveals how much potential there is that Bridget can still tap into, especially stepping into a leadership role with us. And then defensively, I mean, she's one of the best defenders in the league. She's frequently tasked with guarding the opposing team's best players, disrupting them, applying intense ball pressure. So one of the reasons we went with Bridget is just she could not be a better fit for how we're envisioning our offense and our defense. And then incredible person too. She's going to be great in the locker room. So delighted to have her on.
And help lead along, I want to call her a kid, she's 21, but Carla Late, that's certainly a lot to prove. From France, had a year with the Valkyries that Vonnie knows as well. And that's a great start in the backcourt.
Oh, great start. I think it's funny because I've been spending most of my weekend watching Carla and all her pick and roll possessions. But I think to have someone that young with such a high ceiling, and to have her knowing that we're going to have her for a few years with her contract, that should be very exciting if you're a Fire fan, knowing that she's going to be a big part of this team and how we're going to approach offense, defense.
Yeah, so she's one of the players that had 1 year. Another one, Chloe Bibby, Australian. Louisa Geiselsoder, you got to post, but she can also play outside. It's a very versatile mix of players that aren't just wedged into being a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5.
That's exactly it. And I think that was intentional, especially we've got a ton of players, kind of wings, who could fit seamlessly in anywhere between the 2 and the 4. And just all the shooting we're going to have in these lineups, that's really going to open up a lot of opportunities for us to exploit, with there being so much gravity out there. It's going to leave so much space for us to exploit. And then defensively too, I think there's a lot of unique things we could do, whether it's switching, playing more disruptive with certain lineups. So I think just a perfect fit overall.
Your brain must be just working overtime of thinking about how you're going to roll them out.
It is, and that's the thing, because I didn't want to come into this with a system. And I think a lot of times when we do that as coaches, it limits the players, and we put them in boxes. So instead, it's more principles. So it's literally just been tons of conversations with our whole staff, diving into the analytics, what our performance team have to say in terms of how do we feel this player works best? What scenarios do we have to put them into? So it's kind of reverse engineering, and that's what makes it so fun, just in terms of going into it with an open mind, but it gives us lots of room to customize how we're going about things to tailor it to our players.
You think of basketball, yeah, it's a global game. You don't necessarily think of United Kingdom basketball, right? So how did you get hooked?
Very true. So I grew up in a town of about 60,000 people called Guildford, just an hour south of London. And soccer and tennis were my sports until about the age of 12. My dad was actually a tennis coach, so really into that. And then when I was, I think, 11 years old, I went to our local team, the Guildford Heat, were the best pro team in England at the time. And I just was hooked immediately. I just thought it was the most exciting sport ever. And I joined the team at my school. I joined the basketball club, because obviously it's clubs in Europe as opposed to sport in the school system. Mm-hmm. And I never looked back. So really fell in love with the game. And then when I got to about 16 years of age, I was aware enough to know that I would never make it as a professional player, but I just wanted to be in the game. And I figured coaching would be the best way to go about it. So I actually started my own basketball club at 16 years old, and that's when I started coaching.
And from there, and that was girls, right? It was the U14 team?
It was a girls team, and my sister was actually in the team, and it was great. We had 8 junior national team players in the first 2 years, and that was kind of the start of me thinking differently when it came to coaching. It was nothing like CLA, but it was, we did things very different in practices to what you would typically see at the time, and that was kind of my whole start coaching wise.
Better Sarama basketball player, you or your sister?
My sister, for sure. She made it actually to the national team.
Very cool.
So she did that for a few years. Yeah.
You can still beat you today in pig, horse?
No. It's all the variable practice I've had since.
What's your hope, this vision for this first year? What do you want to get accomplished?
I think I want an incredibly clear DNA around the team, where anyone could come to a game, watch it on TV, and know what we're trying to achieve offensively and defensively. And then the second part is the culture piece. I think making sure that fans see just our compete level has to be top notch. Like, we don't want another team in the league to be competing better than us. And ultimately, I want this to be an environment of joy, where if you were to ask every player and staff member at the end of the season if they enjoyed their time with us, if they felt it was specific, if they felt they got better, and we're competing on a nightly basis and leaving it all out there for the fans, and the fans feel proud to be a Fire fan, then I'm happy.
And pretty cool that, yeah, there's more player acquisition happening in the next week, but then we got training camp, okay? The 19th, that's gonna be like Christmas morning for you. What's training camp gonna be like down in Eugene to get everybody together and figure out what the Fire is?
So I think the thing is, we're gonna start our work now. And I think that's thinking differently, like how can we accelerate the learning process? Even things now like sharing video with the players. I don't wanna wait till training camp to get ahead. We've got all this time now. Let's make the most of it, and let's start these conversations with, and even things like quizzes, getting our players to understand the terminology, how we're going to play. So I think if we're smart with that, we can gain a couple weeks head start versus other teams in the league. But yeah, when it comes to the camp itself, it's straight into it in terms of that first practice. Obviously, the energy is going to be great, but we're going to be making a ton of decisions, and we're going to get a lot in the first day. We're going to have a lot of offensive and defensive concepts in from day one.
And you're not in a unique position. Yeah, it's an expansion team, but with so much free agency, over 100 in the league, everybody's going to be getting to get to know you phase, right? So in a way, you're all kind of on equal planes in some parts.
Yeah, I'd say so. I just think the challenge this year is, because the free agency is so short, it makes it harder to really pitch, get to know the players, etc. So I think in future years, in a normal season, obviously the longer period will help, because the way I view this is, I think Portland can be a top top-notch destination for free agents. I mean, we got everything here, and I think that's what we want to show in year one in terms of the fan base. We're going to have some of the best attended games in the league. We're going to have a really clear identity offensively and defensively. Players are going to enjoy their time here. So I think if we can do all these things and players know that when they come here, we treat them well and that players love being here representing the city, I think in future years, we are going to be able to do some really big things in free agency.
You're a coach, you're comfy, you're working in the office. I knew I shouldn't have worked.
It's different for me. I can't wait to get to
on
the gym.
game day. Are you a suit guy?
No, we're not going suits this year. It's going to be the nice sweater / zip top. Keep it comfortable.
You're cool with that. It's a different time, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Pat Riley days are out the window.
I think they are. I think they are. One of our Sefu, one of our assistants, he was, before he flew here a week ago, he was like, Alex, I got to ask you, we're going suits, no suits? And I was like, no suits. He's like, I want to hug you. So, yeah, we're keeping it comfortable.
Yeah. Big things to come. We talked about the wedding, obviously for yourself and the season, but also the training facility out in Hillsborough. What advantage will that be? And certainly you talk about free agency for next year when that comes online, when you guys get there August, towards later in the season, but that's going to be there permanently forever.
It will. So firstly, I mean, we're very lucky to have such an incredible ownership group. I think Lisa and Alex's commitment to this, Raj Sports, is inspiring, and their investment, I mean, we will have one of the best facilities in the league. So that is a big deal, especially when we're talking things like free agency. It really helps that knowing that we're going to have an environment like that, and we've been so intentional in terms of the design. Like if we're talking about as an organization eliminating silos, well, how can we think about every detail from where the staff sit to how the players walk in to what their locker rooms look like, what the performance area look like. So I feel like we thought of every detail, and just once we move in, that's going to be a great competitive advantage for us.
So this is the month. The first game, April 29th, is going to be in Seattle, the preseason opener on Fox 12 Plus. That's free over-the-air TV. How important is that in a day and age of so many apps and subscriptions and streaming that you could watch this team, learn who you are, who your team is, just by clicking on the TV?
Oh,
get some rabbit ears, you can watch it.
It's incredibly important. Like, we want to be accessible to the fans, and we want fans to feel a part of this. So I'm so glad that is the case. And I think this year we're going to be very intentional about how can we build that relationship with the community, with the fan base. We really want the whole Portland community to be getting behind this team, because we need everyone if we want to make this one of the hardest places in the league to play. And that's what the original Fire was. I know teams used to hate playing here.
There we go. Alex Sarama, you got work to do. You got tape to watch, people to call. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you a lot this season, man. Thanks so much.